Hello viewers, thank you very much for watching GIPSTE TV. Today, let's be looking at part 3 of literature review discussion, specifically how to evaluate sources for literature search. Let's dive into it. If you are looking for information about how to evaluate sources for your literature search in order to obtain relevant and related literature to support your research project or thesis or dissertation, and you do not know what to do, please don't worry. That is why GIPSTE TV is here to assist. I'm hopeful that after this lesson, you will understand how to evaluate sources for your literature search. So the big question now is, where should I start from? Remember that a literature review is a critical evaluation of what has been published on a topic by accredited scholars and researchers. It is not just descriptive, but analytical in nature because you need to synthesize all the scholarly sources that you lay hands on. A good literature review evaluates a wide variety of sources by including academic articles, scholarly books, and government or NGO reports. So you see that some publications, you see, they will be citing academic articles, scholarly books, and even reports from NGOs, UN, and several other reputable institutions. You also saw from the previous videos some of the scholarly sources, which include the Google Scholar, the Semantic Scholar, the JSTOR, and even that of the Brill and the EBSCO and several other sources. So make sure that you read and research around them. It's very important. But also evaluate literature review that study similar topics. There are some steps to follow to evaluate your literature search. And they include 1, read the abstract to filter the information. 2, taking note of recurring citations and references for inclusion. 3, credible sources. And 4, doing your personal assessment for inclusion and exclusion of the available literature. Let's dive into them. First of all, you need to read the abstract to find out whether an article is relevant to your question and your research problem. So it's very important to always, whenever you download an article, the first piece that you see is the abstract. So you have to read the abstract. Read the abstract to find out the information, if the information in the article will be relevant to be included in your own study. It's very important because you may not have time to read everything in the document, but the abstract you should be able to read to know that whether the article is very relevant to your study. When you find a useful book too or an article, you can also check the bibliography or the reference page to find other relevant sources so that you go back to download and read the abstract to see if it will be relevant for inclusion or exclusion in your current study. Second, to identify the most important publications on your topic by taking note of recurring citations or references. If the same authors or books or articles keep appearing in your reading, make sure to seek them out. Okay. This can also be done by checking and even comparing the bibliography or the references section of the different papers to find other relevant sources or recurrent. So whenever you are reading an article, you need to take note of all the intercitations. If you look at this, the McLaurin 2006 and that of the Sutter 2005 page 494. They are all intercitations. So you keep note of all these things and you compare them across the different articles that you download to see those that are recurring. Those that reoccur, it means that they are critical in your field, and you need to also make sure that you include them in your literature. Also, you must also look at the references, okay, to see those that reoccur throughout the literature that you downloaded for filter. So once you see that 1 or 2 publishers or authors, okay, keep appearing in across all those papers that you downloaded, then there's likelihood that you need to include them in your study. Let's look at the next step. The next step is to make sure the sources you use are credible. and also making sure that you read any landmark studies and major theories in the field of research. You can find out how many times an article has been cited on a Google Scholar, okay, on the Google Scholar. You can find out how many times article has been cited on Google Scholar. A high citation count means the article has been influential, is credible in the field, and should certainly be included in your literature review. So if you look at these from the Google Scholar, whatever you key in any variable and select the article section, articles will pop up. Okay, so if you see articles, you go down here, you see cited by. The number of the cited by is always there. So if you look at this particular article, it has been cited 7,639 times. That tells you how critical it is in that field. Okay, the next article has been cited by 114 times, and the third one has been cited by 61 times. So if you read the abstract of all these articles or books and you observe that, okay, all of them are relevant, you cannot skip the first one because it is highly influential in the field. You need to include it in the study. The last criteria for evaluating the sources for personal assessment, you probably won't be able to read absolutely everything that has been written on the topic in your field. So you have to evaluate which sources are most relevant to your question. For each publication, ask yourself the following question. What question or problem is the author addressing? What are the key concepts and how are they defined? What are the key theories, models, and methods that they utilize in the study? Does the research use established framework or take innovative approach? You ask yourself all these questions. What are the results and conclusion of the study? How does the publication relate to other literature in the field? Or does it confirm or add to or challenge established knowledge? And how does the publication contribute to your understanding of the topic? And what are its key insights and arguments? Lastly, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the research? Can you deal with those things when you include it in your study? All these personal assessments should help you to filter the information that you need to include in your literature review session of your dissertation or thesis or your research project. In summary, the scope of your review will depend on your topic and discipline. For instance, in the sciences, usually only review recent literature, but in the humanities, you must take a long historical perspective. For example, to trace how a concept has changed in a meaning over time. Lastly, as you read, take note, you should also begin the writing process, okay? By taking note that you can later incorporate into the text of your literature review. It's very important, okay? As you are filtering and also searching through the literature, you should be able to make relevant notes and that you can what? Incorporate into the literature session. That is very important. Thank you very much for subscribing to GIPSTE TV. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you.